highlights channel of the Ranveer Show. This is TRS Clips. What do you think that the Modi government has actually done for the economy of the country? Because once again, I've spoken to economists on the show who have worked with the Modi government. No one's going to project their own work as having been flawed in any manner.
True.
Which is why I'm actually excited to listen to you. You're one of the most centrist opinions I've ever heard on the show. Let's go.
So I'll put forth a structure by which anybody who's watching this podcast can actually go on to analyze if a state government or the central government is doing a good job or not. Because this answer is so nuanced, you can't say yes or no to this. Okay? So there are three ways in which I break down the performance of a government: economic indicators, social indicators, and ease of doing business. Okay? Let's start with ease of doing business. In 1991, when our country got liberalized, it was liberalized on paper. We received a lot of foreign companies over here who created a lot of jobs. And after that, the GDP per capita shot up. The income of Indian middle class, it shot up. And that's how we saw the IT revolution. But what most people do not understand is that even today, it is very difficult to do business in India. For example, if I'm somebody who wants to set up a factory in India today, and I want to invest 100 crores in a state, it is very difficult for me to start my business quickly because I have to get a lot of permits from the power department, from the water department, from the environmental department, and so on and so forth. And because there's a lot of delay in this clearance, a lot of foreign businesses, they just quit India and they would rather go to Vietnam, Indonesia, or Bangladesh, where things are much easier in certain sectors, like textile sector is for Bangladesh. So the moment this happens, employment in India is not created. Economy of India could have received a lot of positive output, but because these companies, they quit India and they go somewhere else, we lose out on a lot of opportunities. So the question that you got to ask yourself is, what is your state or your country doing to increase the ease of doing business in India? For example, when it comes to Gujarat, they came up with the concept of something called single window clearance system, where they have a single portal. And by the way, the government of Gujarat was so obsessed with bringing business to Gujarat that they set up a dedicated customer support team who can help out these investors and businesses to get through the government regulations, government policies and procedures so that they can set up the factory very quickly. There was a major problem of land acquisition, for which the Gujarat government built something called the land bank. And because of that, when Ratan Tata wanted to shift his plant from West Bengal to another state, he got a lot of offers. But Gujarat was the quickest state to give land to Tata. As a result, within 15 days, Ratan Tata was able to make a decision. They shifted to Gujarat. If I'm not wrong, the Tatas have invested 6,060 crores in Gujarat, creating a lot of employment. So a very important indicator of whether the government is doing a good job or a bad job is to check how easy is it to do business in a particular state. And now the government is coming out with something called National Single Window Clearance System, which is basically the extended version of what they did in Gujarat. 2 to 3 years down the line, if the execution is done well, then a lot of FDI will come to India, employment will be created, and the economy will progress. The second indicator of whether a government is doing a good job or a bad job is to look at economic indicators. Here we have something called debt to GDP ratio, as in what is the GDP of the state, what is the debt that that particular state has taken up, and what is the ratio. RBI defines certain standards. If you have a look at it, you'll be able to compare as to how well your state is doing. So if your state is taking up a lot of debt, either it is investing that into infrastructure or it could be giving out freebies. So you have to check what exactly is your state spending the money on.
How do you check?
You can check it using multiple ways. One of the sources which I refer to is the RBI document, which constantly points out that certain states are giving out freebies. In fact, the document that I'm referring to, it has a list of all the freebies which the RBI kind of questions, along with the amount of money that the government has spent on that freebie. For example, if the Punjab government has spent a lot of money into giving out free electricity, which is causing a lot of trouble to the finances of the state, RBI will point that out and it will say that the government of Punjab has spent XYZ 1,000 crores into giving out free electricity, And maybe that's not a good idea.
Is this hypothetical or is that true? Like, has the Punjab government done this? They have.
Yes.
They have.
Yes.
And the AAP is in power in Punjab.
Yes.
So I had asked Atishi this exact question about freebie, this exact thing that you're saying. And I said that how do you run the economy? Because I believe the inflation rate in Delhi, which has been the AAP stronghold, is very, very low. And it's kind of become a case study world over and all that. So she said that the way we are able to actually give what people call freebies is because the AAP is made up of politicians who are not corrupt at all.
Okay.
So that this is again not anti-AAP. Maybe I'm just trying to explain to you guys how the world of politics also works. Very important conversation is happening right now. I'm sorry I interrupted you, brother. Let's go on.
Yeah. So if you have a look at that RBI document, it will help you understand whether those freebies are good or bad. And more importantly, it will make you question what your state is doing. Then you have something called interest payments to revenue receipts, as in how much is the state generating out of tax and non-tax revenue, and how much of that money is going into interest payments for the debt that that particular state has taken up. For example, if your income is 2 lakh rupees and you spend 1 lakh rupees into just paying the interest for your home loan, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Bad.
It's a bad thing. So interest payments to revenue receipts, it actually tells you how much of your state's money is being spent on just interest payments so that you can again keep a check on the state's finances. These are the economic indicators. There are multiple economic indicators, but these 2-3 economic indicators, they'll give you a fairly good idea. And then you have the social indicators. In social indicators, you have 3 major pain points of the society that needs to be addressed: healthcare, education, and worker wages. Are the wages at the bottom of the pyramid increasing? Because they are the first ones to suffer the brunt of inflation. They are the first ones to get affected in case of a natural calamity, in case of a economic disaster for that matter. So if you understand that the worker wages are increasing, the state is doing a good job. If you understand that the number of people graduating in that particular state is increasing, the state is doing a good job. If you understand that the beds per capita in the state is increasing, the state is doing a good job. So this way, using ease of doing business, economic indicators and social indicators, you will be able to gauge whether the government is doing a good job or a bad job. Now, the homework for all the people who are watching this podcast or listening to this podcast is to actually go and seek this data and find out whether your state is doing a good job or a bad job. For reference, there are 2 videos that we've made. One on Gujarat, which is right before the Gujarat elections, and the other is right before the Karnataka elections. If you watch those videos, you'll be able to understand how we compare the data of that particular state with the RBI standards and with other states to help you understand whether the government is doing a good job or a bad job.
You've done this exercise, right?
Yes.
So you, at least in your mind, you have a list of the states that are doing a good job versus those that are doing a not so great job.
I have done this for a few states, which is Karnataka, Gujarat, and Sikkim.
Why these?
Because Gujarat and Karnataka ka election tha, so we had to make a video on it. As a result, we did the analysis. When it comes to Sikkim, Sikkim has done some insane job with organic farming.
Okay.
And my team brought it up and they said that Sikkim is a case study that's worth addressing. And hence we took that up.
Which party is in power in Sikkim?
I don't know, bro. That's the beauty of our research. We never look at which party is actually in power in that particular state. We just look at what is the job that the government has done, which has turned that state into a prosperous state.
Can we actually look it up? If we're having like this conversation now. While that data is mined by my team, I want to ask you that, say if there is state A and B where the same political party is ruling, could it be that they have different performances based on the local government structure there?
Absolutely.
That depends totally on the human angles there.
Correct. There are a lot of factors. For example, if Gujarat has the luxury of having Surat, and then you have a landlocked state like, say, Uttar Pradesh, then obviously Gujarat is going to have multiple advantages as compared to UP, right? If one state by default has very high literacy rate and the other state doesn't, then by default, this state will get advantage over the other state. For example, when it comes to our northeastern states, they don't have great transportation And that's because of two reasons. Number one, we've been ignoring them for a very long time. And secondly, the terrain is such that it is very difficult to build a highway. It is very difficult to build a railway line over there. Right? So again, over there, if a party is not building railway line or highways, it is both because they're ignoring it, they're not incentivized for it maybe, and thirdly, it could be because of the terrain. Now, depending on which state it is, we have to make the judgment. Again, this requires a lot of study and a lot of nuances, which is why I say, when it comes to nuances and data, mob will never understand nuance. A mob will never care about data. All they will care about is what exactly is the party's singular message out to the society. If they say that they will secure Hindus from certain threats, they just believe it, and that is more than enough for them. If they say that they will give out TVs for free, they will give out grinders for free, at that point in time, for them, if TV is important, that's it. They will draw the conclusion about the party's performance based on how generous the party is during certain time periods. That is the reason why this conversation that we're having, even if it is put out to the world in different languages, it will barely appeal to the top 10% of India and not for the rest 90%.
Maybe only the top 1%.
Maybe the top 1%. I'm just being optimistic to say 10%. But yeah.
Again, we won't come to a final conclusion about this. But if the audiences do enough research, they will be able to figure who the actual performers are between the AAP, BJP and Congress.
Correct. Or they can just subscribe to Think School.
Are you going to go in that territory? Will you ever go into this whole Congress performance breakdown?
Yes.
You will?
Yeah. Because it's an important subject for business.
Why?
For example, Sikkim has done an incredible job with organic farming, bro. Whereas if you look at Sri Lanka, they failed miserably. And organic farming is a very difficult sector to capture. Do you know, Sikkim is, I think, the first or the second organic state in the world. And they've done a phenomenal job. The reason why they're able to do a phenomenal job is because they were able to, A, understand the economics of organic farming. The government was able to spot the demand for organic products. And number three, they were able to educate people about the economics of organic farming. They were able to explain the importance of organic farming in the future, and they were able to execute it properly. Okay. And that is very beautiful. So as an entrepreneur, if I understand that Sikkim is the go-to state for organic farming, I will go to Sikkim and I will see if I could set up a warehouse over there and become a wholesaler.
Mad. Okay. Loving this conversation.
At the same time, there are multiple other states which are learning from Sikkim, and they're also trying to execute the same policies that Sikkim executed so that even they can become an organic state. Why? Because of pesticides, there are a lot of health issues, and more importantly, the groundwater is being polluted. So states by default understand that because of Green Revolution, back then, we were forced to use those kind of methods, but now we have to get out of it. If we don't, the nation will be in a disaster. And as an entrepreneur, if I understand that Maharashtra is applying the same policies as Sikkim, because I know what happened in Sikkim, I'll be able to invest wisely in Maharashtra so that I can capitalize on the organic farming wave in Maharashtra. That is the reason why, like I said, government is the godfather of the market. If you understand what the godfather likes and what he doesn't like, you'll be able to capitalize on those opportunities, which otherwise you will never ever have access to.
Okay. Do you buy the BJP narrative about अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं from back in 2014, I believe? And even the अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं narrative now. I don't think they say that anymore. But both BJP politicians as well as pro-Modi Indians will always say that the next 30 years are India's to be one.
Yeah.
I'm asking you the exact specific in terms of how acha.
Okay, I will tell you why this is a beautiful marketing campaign and it's good for India in the long run.
Sure.
When they say, अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं, do you realize it is talking to the grassroots of Indian society and it is instilling hope. Hope is very, very powerful. When the entire nation believes that the next 3 decades are going to be our decades, because of that optimism, they will work very well. And that is what turned Japan into what it is today, that the entire nation collectively believed that although we've been through a lot, in the next 3 decades, we have to build a nation that the world aspires to become. So, अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं, regardless of what that has resulted into. The one thing that I can say for sure is that it has resulted into a lot of optimism, and Indians have regained their faith about a better India tomorrow. Now, as far as a marketing campaign is concerned, this is a brilliant campaign because it is understood by everybody. And kaun achhe din layega if BJP is at the center of it? I think it's the perfect product placement ever. It's like Listerine. So Listerine first marketed the idea of halitosis, which is foul breath, and presented itself as a solution to foul breath. Before that, Listerine was a generic product. It could be used for wounds, it could be used for ulcer, it could be used for a lot of things. It could also be used for toilet cleaning, by the way. Would you put toilet cleaner in your mouth? No. So the messaging was not strong enough. But then this marketing agency came up and they said, you know what, let's define the problem first and then tell people that, okay, this is a problem and here's your solution. And that is Listerine. That's exactly what BJP has done. They say that these are the problems in the country that we've been facing. And the culprit for that is XYZ party. And we are here to solve that. And we will bring Achhe Din to India, which is, to me, a genius marketing strategy. So if you look at it from the nation perspective, it's a great thing and every party should do that because it instills hope, and hope is very powerful. For a developing nation, that is perhaps one of the most important forces that will grow our country, that will grow our economy. From the marketing standpoint, it's a genius marketing strategy.
So these are playlists made especially for you. We've tailor-made learning experiences for you on TRS Clips.